In my previous life, I suffered domestic abuse at the hands of my husband and secretly moved out with my daughter. I repeatedly instructed my daughter not to disclose our new address. She agreed verbally but then turned around and told my husband the address. I was beaten to death by my husband in a rental apartment. My daughter sobbed pitifully. What did I do wrong? I just wanted a complete family, fine, in this life. You can stay locked up with your dear father. When I was reborn, I was in the middle of packing to move. My husband, Zhang Guotao, was a vicious abuser who not only hit and yelled at me regularly but also threatened to kill my daughter and me if I ever thought about divorce. To escape from Zhang Guotao, I took the opportunity when he was out drinking with friends to flee to another city with my daughter, Xinxin. Fearing he would find us, I changed my phone number, cut off contact with all previous acquaintances, and repeatedly instructed Xinxin never to contact Zhang Guotao again. Xinxin obediently nodded in agreement but secretly messaged Zhang Guotao when I wasn't looking, saying she missed her dad. Zhang Guotao sweet-talked Xinxin and easily got our address from her. He came after us that same night. He kicked down the door of the rental house and beat me mercilessly. I couldn't defend myself and was beaten to death. The incident caused a huge uproar locally. Facing reporters, Xinxin tearfully said, "What did I do wrong? I just wanted a complete family. If Mom hadn't secretly run away, Dad wouldn't have been so furious to hit her that hard." Later, in court, she testified that Zhang Guotao had killed me accidentally and had not intended to murder me. He was ultimately convicted of abuse and served only 5 years in prison before being released. When Zhang Guotao was released, Xinxin had grown up. They lived happily together, having seemingly forgotten about me. Sadly, my life was tragic. Having given birth to the very person who would betray me, by some miracle, I was reborn. A tide of hatred surged within me, shaking me to my core. Just then, the door was pushed open and Xinxin, with her hair in a ponytail, walked in. Seeing the half-packed suitcase on the floor, she frowned slightly with a hint of dissatisfaction. "Mom, are you planning to take me and run away from home again?" She kicked the suitcase towards the wall and continued without waiting for my response. "Mom, you're too sensitive. Dad works hard to make money every day. It's not easy for him. He just lost his temper and hit you a couple of times, and you make such a big deal out of it. Running away from home doesn't solve anything. Dad will still find us and you'll get beaten again." Hearing my daughter's cold words, just like in my past life, my heart sank. Could it be? Overwhelmed by deep hatred, before I could finish my thoughts, I blurted out my suspicion. "Was it always you who told Zhang Guotao where we were?" Perhaps intimidated by the fierce look I had never shown before, Xinxin, who had been impatient moments ago, instinctively stepped back and muttered, "I had to tell him quickly while Dad was cooling off. Or did you want me to be homeless forever?" So that was it. Before, every time Zhang Guotao beat me, I would take my daughter and hide at my parents' place. After my parents passed away, the old house was quickly sold by my brother and his wife. With nowhere to go, I took my daughter and hid in hotels. No matter how far or secluded the hotel, Zhang Guotao always found us quickly. I never understood how Zhang Guotao, a mere bus driver, could have such reach. It turned out it was all because of the betrayal right in front of me. Old grievances and new hatreds piled up, and I couldn't control myself any longer. I raised my hand and fiercely slapped my daughter across the face. She never dreamed I would hit her. Holding her face, she looked at me with eyes full of hatred. "How dare you hit me?" "I did hit you." I slapped her 2 more times, seeing the swollen imprints of my fingers on her face. The flames of my anger were slightly quenched as I cursed lowly, "Heartless wretch, get out." The little wretch glared at me viciously. At only 8 years old, her malevolent appearance was strikingly similar to that beast. Zhang Guotao. I kicked her out of the door, fearing that another glance would make me unable to resist killing this ungrateful girl on the spot. Outside the door, the ungrateful girl burst into tears, kicking the door and cursing furiously. "You wait. I'm going to call my dad to come back and kill you." "Wait, I'm actually curious to see how she'll survive without my protection, under the mercy of Zhang Guotao, who favors sons over daughters." Looking down at the suitcase, it was mostly filled with the girl's daily necessities and clothes. What a pity, after all these years of thankless toil, I don't even own a decent piece of clothing myself. Now, I don't need any of this. Thinking that Zhang Guotao would soon be back, I threw the contents of the suitcase outside, grabbed only my ID and phone, and hurried out the door. I had already bought a train ticket, but to avoid being found by Zhang Guotao, I decided to buy a plane ticket to another city instead. Without the burden of that ungrateful girl, every procedure went smoothly. 2 hours later, I boarded the plane and left the city where I had lived for over 30 years. Unlike in my previous life, this time I didn't rush to discard my old phone number but kept it in a spare phone. She thinks Zhang Guotao is so great, doesn't she? I'd like to see how she manages to live a fairy tale life under his rule without me slaving away to keep the household running. I thought Zhang Guotao might show some fatherly affection because of her repeated betrayals, but it turns out I overestimated him. As soon as I landed, my phone was bombarded with messages. Opening the chat app, the first thing that caught my eye was the image of the girl with a bruised face, accompanied by Zhang Guotao's fierce voice message. "Han Mei, if you know what's good for you, get back here, or I swear I'll kill this worthless girl." Zhang Guotao was abusive towards me and never spared her daughter when beating her. It was only because I always desperately shielded her that she avoided his worst abuses. I thought she would understand my sacrifices and endure, but instead, she was under the illusion that Zhang Guotao would only hit me, not her. But karma has indeed come swiftly. If it were my past life, I would be breathlessly heartbroken now. But today I only feel relieved, even smiling a bit more. After some thought, I replied, "She is your daughter. I trust you can take good care of her. Good luck." After sending the message, I turned off my phone. Once there's a first time for hitting, it never stops. This grand drama of fatherly love has just begun, and I need to be fully energized to watch it unfold. A week later, when I turned on the spare phone again, it was bombarded with notifications, showing over 500 missed calls. I lightly swiped my finger across the screen, and my sharp eyes caught a familiar yet strange phone number. Chen Shuang. Chen Shuang was my cousin-in-law, who, like me, lived under the shadow of domestic abuse. One severe instance, her husband threw her out of a second-floor window, breaking her leg on impact. Before the cast on her leg was even removed, she was beaten again, injuring her organs. Due to our similar tragic experiences, Chen Shuang and I had a particularly close relationship. And we talked about everything. Before I left City A in my past life, I reluctantly messaged Chen Shuang to say goodbye. She insisted on having a meal with me before I left, but I refused because I was in a hurry to catch the train. Later, I found out that after receiving my message, Chen Shuang immediately called Zhang Guotao and, under his instruction, planned to trap me. If I had gone to meet her, I wouldn't have needed the ungrateful girl to betray me. I might have been killed that very day. Back then, I couldn't understand why, as a fellow victim of domestic violence, she would so maliciously push me towards death. Now, I understand. Her mentality had been twisted and perverted by the daily beatings. She could only feel better if I, like her, was beaten by my husband, and even more severely, she can only feel satisfied if she ensures I never escape misfortune. It's like the crabs in a fresh market. When one tries to escape, another immediately pulls it back down. They must all end up as the meat on the chopping board together. In short, Chen Shuang, just like my ungrateful daughter, is nothing but a malevolent spirit aiding tyranny. She definitely deserves a part in my plan for revenge, as if by some psychic connection. Just as I was lost in thought, Chen Shuang's call came through again. A slight smile played at the corner of my lips as I gently pressed the answer button. Chen Shuang seemed momentarily stunned to have her call answered, then quickly started scolding. "Han Mei, where have you run off to, neglecting even your child? Do you know that Xinxin was almost beaten to death by Zhang Guotao? Almost beaten to death. But not quite. That's truly a pity." Remembering the day I left, the impatient and venomous face of my dear daughter, I sighed softly, mimicking her tone lightly. Xinxin said, "Since her dad works so hard outside, getting hit by him occasionally doesn't count for much. She just has to endure it. And it will pass. Isn't my little ingrate fond of others' generosity? I should think she'd be thrilled with such a generous opportunity. I know you've been wronged. Which household doesn't face bumps? Hurry back, otherwise, if Zhang Guotao really loses his temper, it'll be too late." Such absurdity. I couldn't help but retort. What can he do if I don't return? People can't float around outside their whole life. Chen Shuang's tone carried a clear frustration of iron not turning into steel. "Han Mei, you're usually so smart. How can you be so confused now? Men are inevitably more impulsive when they're young, but as they grow older, they lose the strength to hit. You're almost through the worst. Why can't you see that?" Chen Shuang's bizarre logic completely dumbfounded me. No wonder she ended up being abused to the point of wearing a colostomy bag for life without ever thinking of escaping. It's true what they say. Character determines fate. Some people's awareness truly matches the suffering they endure. Thinking I was persuaded by her silence, Chen Shuang became even more energetic. "Hurry back. I'll talk to Zhang Guotao and get him to go easy on you. Don't be ungrateful." Am I so despicable that I should be grateful for being beaten? Chen Shuang's shameless remarks actually made me laugh. I replied indifferently, "If you're willing to live like this, then by all means continue. I'm not like you. I'm not that self-degrading." Chen Shuang was choked by my retort, immediately becoming furious. "Zhang Guotao is already looking everywhere for you. He even threatened to dig up your parents' graves. Don't say I didn't warn you." These words sounded familiar. In my previous life, Zhang Guotao had threatened me more than once, but never acted on it. He didn't dare. Although my brother is distant and reluctant to support me against Zhang Guotao, he would never stand by and watch him desecrate my parents' graves. Wouldn't that turn him into a laughingstock of the entire town? Let him dig if he dares. If he doesn't, he's nothing but a coward. Knowing Chen Shuang's nature, she must have secretly recorded this conversation. I said disdainfully without hiding my contempt. With how advanced the internet is nowadays, he'd better go online and play the victim, accuse me of abandoning him and our daughter. He might even become an internet celebrity, turn his life around with live streaming. With that, I hung up the phone. Yes, the reason I answered Chen Shuang's call was to make sure she passed the last few words to Zhang Guotao. God, when planning to destroy someone, first makes them mad. Zhang Guotao has always liked to play the victim. Every time he hit me, he would immediately kneel down, slap himself, and cry, begging for forgiveness. With such good acting skills, it's only right to leverage them for a bigger impact. I intend to completely ruin him, turn him into a pariah shunned by all. I turned off the backup phone. I headed out to the nearest supermarket and stocked up, filling the fridge and cabinets of my rented apartment to the brim. As expected, it wasn't long before I encountered my first real-life doxing and cyberbullying. Walking outside meant risking exposure at any moment, so it seemed wiser to stay home and watch dramas. I'm not sure if it was Qin Shuang's lightning-fast gossiping or Zhang Guodao's eager desire to become an internet celebrity and strike it rich. I thought that even with my guidance, it would take a couple of days for things to ferment, but to my surprise, the drama escalated that very evening and became a hot topic online. In the video, Zhang Guotao, with his sly daughter in tow, put on a poor performance. The father-daughter duo wept bitterly, accusing me of being a habitual drunkard who frequently resorted to verbal and physical abuse. They claimed they had only tried to advise me, yet I ran away from home without a trace. To gain sympathy, they debased themselves, repeatedly admitting their mistakes and promising never to stop me from drinking again, and to endure any abuse without retaliation. If only I would come back home. At the video's end, they didn't forget to attach close-up photos of me and my ID, fearing the cyberbullying wasn't personal enough. A woman with a drinking problem. Such a rarity wouldn't just be unheard of in modern China, but in the vast expanse of human history. It's impressive how Zhang Guotao could tell such blatant lies without batting an eye. Unfortunately, in the online world, where people's capacities vary widely, any absurd statement can be believed if the performance is convincing enough. Zhang Guodao's tearful accusations quickly garnered much sympathy. Of course, most of this sympathy soon turned into harsh criticism and insults directed at me, with many suggesting Zhang Guotao divorce me and keep his daughter away from such a vile person. Zhang Guotao then showcased his good husband persona again, tearfully professing his deep love for me. With snot and tears, he sobbed uncontrollably into the camera. "Wife, I know I don't make much money. And you've always despised me for being unambitious. If you come back, I promise to work 2 jobs every day and give you all the money. Wife, it's okay if you don't want to wash clothes or cook. I can take care of all that. Wife, I'll help our daughter with her homework, take her to and from school. Just stay with me, and I'll do anything you say." Their daughter also cried bitterly. "Mom, I won't eat snacks anymore. I'll study hard and help with the chores, Mom. If you lose your temper and hit me again, I promise I won't fight back or talk back." What a joke. In nearly 10 years of marriage, when has Zhang Guotao ever lifted a finger to do any chores? The paltry sum of 2,000 yuan he gives for household expenses each month has to be begged for, time and again, often followed by a beating before he hands it over. As for his manipulative daughter, I've showered her with nothing but love since she was born, treating her so gently as if she might melt in my mouth. No matter how troublesome she was, I never laid a finger on her. Regrettably, I was too foolish in my past life, always hoping to rescue her from misery, blind to the fact that she, too, was complicit in our torment. I was so furious I trembled, wishing I could reach through the camera and tear apart the deceitful and disgusting faces of Zhang Guotao and his daughter. Sadly, now is not the time for action. I must endure a few more days. In the video, their nauseating performance continued. After Zhang Guotao had his fill of crying, he didn't forget to ask netizens to help locate me, generously claiming that there would be a reward for anyone who could find me. Look at that. His loving husband persona is so solidly built. It's heartbreaking to smell and tear-inducing to see. A pitiful man easily garners sympathy, and a pitiful, love-struck man even more so. I watched as Zhang Guodao's newly created social media account quickly grew from a few hundred followers to over 100,000, with the numbers still rising. In the comments section, netizens from various places had already begun a spontaneous search for me. Every moment, photos of women who looked similar to me were being uploaded to the comments section for Zhang Guotao to verify if they were his beloved wife. Unfortunately, none of this is me, and the results are naturally disappointing. On one hand, various netizens are eagerly searching for me online. On the other, as Zhang Guodao's personal account skyrockets in followers, brands have approached him, hoping to capitalize on this popularity by having him promote their products through live streaming. Everyone knows that live streaming to sell products can make you rich overnight, but it generally takes time to establish a solid persona and proceed gradually. However, Zhang Guotao lacks such foresight and quickly started a pattern of eliciting sympathy while selling products. Although this tactic alienated some people, it also drew a supportive audience, making his live streams lively and popular. Riding on his tales of woe, he experienced an overnight transformation from an ordinary person to a celebrity, a scenario he probably never dreamed of. Luckily, I was prepared and had already been living as a recluse, hardly leaving my house, walking on the street now. It's quite possible that a well-meaning netizen might spot me and send my whereabouts to Zhang Guotao. How should I describe such behavior? It's sometimes a kind of kindness to meddle without being too presumptuous. My online account was created with a new phone number, unknown to anyone. My previous phone has been off for a while, unaffected by exploding messages, and my current address is unknown to anyone, as long as I don't go out. This online assault can't touch me. It's time to take the initiative. Thinking this, I turn on my seldom-used spare phone and send Zhang Guotao a message. Zhang Guotao, you've filled the mouths of kind-hearted netizens with lies and incited others to cyberbully me. Has your conscience been eaten by a dog? Zhang Guotao keeps his phone close, and it wasn't long before he replied. he isn't foolish and knows that speaking recklessly now could leave evidence for me. So he starts to perform earnestly, my wife. You finally replied to my message. I was wrong. I truly was. Please come home. I'll do anything if you just come back. After that, he calls. Although I know Zhang Guotao is prepared, probably still playing the victim, I start recording the call when I pick up. My wife, I know you despise me for not making enough money, for being a loser, but now I'm an internet celebrity. I can support you. Please come back. See, his persona is still intact. I thought hearing Zhang Guotao's voice again would shake me with rage, but at this moment, I am more restrained. I take a deep breath and say coldly, Zhang Guotao, a lie is still a lie. Over the years, you've left me covered in scars. These scars don't lie. As soon as I show up, your lies would be easily exposed. My wife, what are you talking about? When have I ever hit you? Zhang Guotao's tone is clearly nervous, but he suppresses it. My wife, I did all this for our family's sake. You wouldn't want our daughter to suffer, right? With these words, he threatens me again, using our daughter as leverage. You've never loved me or our daughter. We were just tools for your twisted, perverse venting. While Zhang Guotao is feeling smug, I coldly threaten, I'm warning you to stop your pathetic act now, or don't blame me for exposing your vile face and leaving you ruined. After hanging up, I turn off the spare phone again. Zhang Guotao is a desperate, ineffectual villain who, despite his popularity, will stop at nothing to seize this unexpected fortune. Anyone who poses a threat to him, he will try to eliminate at all costs. Now, as someone who could expose his true nature at any moment, I am like a ticking time bomb, which he will undoubtedly want to defuse at all costs. Unfortunately for him, I've hidden myself too well. He couldn't find any trace of me at all. To no avail. Now, he faces two choices. The first is to treat the treacherous ingrate even more harshly, to make me, her mother, unable to bear it and compromise. The second is to hire illegal cyber hackers to locate my phone and find me. However, since my phone is turned off, even if he hires hackers, it might not be useful. In comparison, beating the ungrateful child seems more cost-effective. The ungrateful child is so reliant on her seemingly good father, enduring more beatings for his wealth and status. Likely savoring it as sweet, I curled my lips, revealing a smile of relief. The trap is set, and there's nothing left for me to do. I spend my days leisurely in my rental, eating and drinking, occasionally checking the trending topics online, and the home surveillance. Yes, in my past life, I never gave up on divorcing Zhang Guotao, to collect evidence of his domestic abuse and gain an advantage in the divorce. I had already secretly installed miniature cameras at home. As things spiraled out of control, I almost fled with the ungrateful child in panic, without the chance to dismantle the cameras. It was only after boarding the plane in this new life that I suddenly remembered. Thus, I used Qin Shuang's words to nudge Zhang Guotao into playing the victim online. These days, news spreads quickly, and Zhang Guotao, tasting the sweetness of internet fame, would surely become more reckless. I am waiting for that recklessness. Human nature often forgets itself in pride. And Zhang Guotao is a prime example. His downfall at his proudest moment, losing everything he gained, even becoming a despised figure everyone shuns, would be the most heart-wrenching. I intend to severely crush Zhang Guotao once and for all, ensuring he can never recover. Perhaps because my past life was so bitter, fate seems to be on my side. I initially just wanted to capture videos of Zhang Guotao hitting me and the ungrateful child, but to my surprise, their pitiful videos online were shot in the living room, clearly captured by the high-definition cameras. In one moment, Zhang Guotao was sobbing tearfully with his daughter on camera. The next, as soon as the video ended, he callously threw her aside, cursing and hitting her. Zhang Guotao has been abusive for years, and hitting had become a habit. As soon as the ungrateful child was thrown to the ground, before she could get up, he kicked her fiercely, cursing continuously, useless burden. Go make some good dishes for me right now. You've delayed my drinking. I'll kill you if you make me wait. Dad, please don't be angry. I understand. The ungrateful child had been beaten frequently these days, her body bruised and battered, and she had become timid and hesitant, not daring to retort, quickly getting up to head to the kitchen. Before she could reach the kitchen, Zhang Guotao spoke again in annoyance. After cooking, continue calling your mom, no matter what. You must find her. If she doesn't show up, I'll throw you out the window. As he spoke, Zhang Guotao's face twisted into a demonic sneer. If not for still needing the ungrateful child, he might have thrown her out already. The ungrateful child shuddered, a sycophantic smile forming on her face as she ingratiatingly said, Don't worry, Dad, since Mom can still receive your calls, it means she checks that phone. I tricked her by saying I was desperate enough to slit my wrists and even sent her a photo of a wrist cutting from the internet. She loves me so much, she will surely come back soon. Zhang Guotao knew how much I loved the ungrateful child, and his expression softened slightly after hearing this. That's more like it. Hatred filled the ungrateful child's eyes as she gritted her teeth. Mom just ran away, trying to ruin Dad's way of earning money. She deserves to die. This time when she comes back, Dad must kill her. Originally, I thought the ungrateful child was just spoiled and selfish, but she turned out to be so malicious. In order to avoid being beaten by Zhang Guotao, she lied to lure me back, completely disregarding my life and death. Indeed, Had she sought help earlier in my past life, I might not have endured so much suffering. I certainly wouldn't let Zhang Guotao beat me to death. In this second chance at life, I'm glad I woke up in time and decisively gave up on her, otherwise, she would have doomed me once again. She deserved it. Enjoy your perfect father and the benefits that come with him in the future. I chuckled coldly with satisfaction, saved the evidence I had, and logged off the monitoring system. There was so much evidence that it took me 2 whole days to sort through it all. During these days, Zhang Guotao continued to overact, intensifying his tragic act online and even displaying award-winning acting skills. He claimed that his heart takeover missing me triggered a heart attack. He even knelt down during a live broadcast, begging me to come back in a low voice. Ah, who would have thought such devoted and loyal men still existed nowadays? A rare gem indeed. And even rarer is a lover like him. Exactly. More and more people began praising Zhang Guotao, and the number supporting him by donating and increasing his online visibility grew. There were occasionally a few skeptical remarks, crying and kneeling at the drop of a hat to ask for forgiveness. Isn't that typical of an abuser? Maybe things aren't as he describes. Yeah, let's not rush to conclusions. There might be a twist to this story, right? However, these rational voices were in the minority and soon drowned out by the overwhelming support for Zhang Guotao. Zhang Guotao grew more arrogant, frequently engaging in ambiguous interactions with his female co-worker, Qin Jingjing, and even blatantly bringing her home under the pretense that she was a helpless little lamb needing care. In front of Qin Jingjing, Zhang Guotao expressed his weariness of me and planned to slander me completely, ruin my reputation, then divorce me. He intended to use his perceived status as a victim to become an internet celebrity and flamboyantly marry Qin Jingjing. All of this was captured clearly by the camera I had installed at home. I really should thank this despicable pair for falling precisely into the trap I had set. Every step they took, heaven may forgive their sins, but self-inflicted woes warrant no sympathy. Seeing the right moment, I stopped holding back. I logged into my old social media accounts and laid out all the evidence, exposing all of Zhang Guotao's lies. I then handed over this well-documented evidence to the police and formally filed for divorce. In recent days, I had also mastered the tricks of the internet, investing money to boost traffic. My response post quickly made it to the trending topics, causing a significant uproar. The public loves a spectacle but hates being manipulated. My counterattack was swift and fierce. Each photo and video hit Zhang Guotao hard, leaving him no room to refute the compelling evidence. Soon, journalists sought me out. I appeared on camera unafraid, detailing the inhumane domestic abuse I had suffered at Zhang Guotao's hands over the years. The scars of abuse are indelible, and despite the time passed, I couldn't help but tear up as I recounted those painful memories. Wiping away my tears, I spoke clearly into the camera. Domestic abuse only happens once or repeatedly. I hope all the sisters suffering from domestic abuse watching this can bravely stand up and resist, not passively endure and ruin their lives. Taking a moment to compose myself, I continued earnestly, nor should you tolerate it just to provide a complete family for your children. Good children will understand that you are leading them away from misery, and those who do not support you do not deserve your attachment. A woman must prioritize herself first, then be a mother to her children. I refuse to bear children who would stab me in the back. Countless women endure the torment of domestic abuse, and while many have become numb and submissive like Chen Shuang, even aiding their abusers, I still hope to awaken them with my own experiences. Even if only one person is enlightened, it is a profoundly meritorious deed. Meanwhile, I called Zhang Guotao's company to report his misconduct. Employing such a person was a disgrace to the company. Was this social death? Absolutely. And it needed to be comprehensive, especially within his circle of acquaintances. Zhang Guotao, a despicable creature, should be stomped into a filthy ditch, never to rise again. Suddenly, the public was in an uproar. Wherever Zhang Guotao went, he was pointed at and ridiculed, subjected to scorn and abuse. He shrank back, not daring to retort a single word. This was hardly surprising, as domestic abusers typically exhibit one common trait. They are bullies at home but cowards outside. No one would have guessed that Zhang Guotao, who seemed too gentle to even step on an ant outside, could turn into a demon addicted to beating his wife once the door of his home was shut. In his past life, I maintained Zhang Guotao's dignity by believing the nonsense that family shame should not be aired in public, and aside from a few close people, I never mentioned his abusive behavior. The greater the contrast, the more completely his facade crumbled when his vile actions were exposed. Now, he has become synonymous with domestic abuse, constantly subjected to public pointing and whispering whenever he steps out. Besides me, the victim, there were many others suffering from domestic abuse who, filled with righteous indignation, reported Zhang Guotao's reprehensible actions to the bus company, urging his dismissal for his disgraceful conduct. Already overwhelmed by Zhang Guotao's issues, the bus company's management used this as an opportunity to fire him. Citing his despicable character and the significant negative impact he had on the company, those who had previously donated money to him online also left messages asking for their money back. Unable to cope with such a psychological plummet, and certainly unable to refund the money that had already reached his pockets, Zhang Guotao closed his comment section and once again retreated into his shell. High rises he built, guests he entertained, and then his tower crumbled. Qin Jingjing had been with Zhang Guotao solely because of his internet fame and now, failing to gain as expected, naturally had no regrets about leaving. She declared herself deceived by Zhang, swiftly severed ties, and disappeared after resigning, taking advantage of Zhang Guotao's absence. Lost in his evasive, aimless existence, I hurried home to retrieve the diploma I had forgotten. Having sacrificed so many years of my youth for the family, forsaking the opportunity to pursue further studies. It was time to make up for lost time. The little ingrate was sobbing on the sofa, but when she saw me enter, she immediately rushed over. "Mom, you finally came back for me. I knew you wouldn't leave me behind." Ha, such bizarre confidence. I wonder where she got it wholesale. I gave a cold laugh, shattering her naive illusions. "You thought wrong. I came back for my diploma." The little ingrate stared at me in stunned disbelief, ignoring her. I quickly found the diploma in the main bedroom closet. "Mom," perhaps frightened by Zhang Guotao these past days, she panicked when I turned to leave without a glance and grabbed at my clothes. "Mom, I was wrong. I was blind and foolish before. Please take me with you. I truly realize my mistake now. If apologies were useful, what would we need the police for?" I frowned slightly and shook off her hand without hesitation. From the moment she betrayed me, she ceased to be my daughter and became my sworn enemy. Moreover, she had betrayed me countless times. If I forgave her so lightly, then all the inhuman torment I endured before would have been deserved. To the little ingrate, I was undoubtedly her lifeline, and she quickly lunged again, clinging desperately to my arms. "Mom, I really didn't mean to give Zhang Guotao the address of Soho Garden. I was deceived by him. And then he threatened me." She suddenly stopped, perhaps realizing something was amiss, and said no more. My heart clenched painfully. Soho Garden was precisely where I was beaten to death by Zhang Guotao in my previous life. In this life, under my strategic planning, I never went to City B, nor did I rent a house in Soho Garden. How could the little ingrate know about it? Could it be, you were reborn? I fixed my gaze intently on Xiaobai, seeking a definitive answer from her expression. Feeling the intensity of my stare, Xiaobai shivered, her small frame trembling. "Mom, did you also?" "Yes, I was reborn too." In Xiaobai's horrified eyes, I quickly confirmed her suspicion and then slapped her. "I had no reason to forgive you before, and now even less so." Her betrayal wasn't a one-time event, nor did her sins begin at that moment. Had she not remembered her past life, I might have just let her fend for herself. But now that she recalls, she can't blame me for seeking vengeance. Every wrongdoing has its perpetrator, and this is what she deserves. Upon leaving the house, I removed Zhang Guodao's contact from the blacklist and sent him the recording of Xiaobai pleading with me to take her with me. Note: take care of your daughter and stop bothering me. Zhang Guotao was notoriously narrow-minded, viewing his wife and daughter as his personal property, meant only to be controlled and abused, never to resist. Now, with his frustrations at a peak, he needed an outlet. Xiaobai's groveling behavior in front of me would surely infuriate him. Only those who feel the knife's cut know its pain. Xiaobai used to say that hitting was a sign of affection, that Zhang Guodao's few slaps were nothing to fuss over. Let her truly endure Zhang Guodao's overwhelming love. Whether she survives his beatings is up to her fate. Zhang Guotao was a man of immediate action, seeking revenge without delay. That very evening, Xiaobai was beaten so severely that her cries were unbearable. But she was luckier than I had been in my past life. Some neighbor, unable to withstand her horrific screams, discreetly called the police. The police arrived in time to rescue Xiaobai, barely alive, and detained Zhang Guotao for 15 days. However, as it was merely considered a domestic dispute, Zhang Guotao spent his detention tearfully repentant, promising the police he had learned his lesson and would never strike his child again. After writing a pledge under police supervision, he was released. Xiaobai was hospitalized with multiple injuries for several days. As a victim of both domestic and cyber abuse, now in need of recovery myself, I naturally couldn't care for her. The police had no choice but to bring my mother-in-law from the countryside, a staunch believer in male superiority. She had barely glanced at Xiaobai since her birth and was now quick to scold her. "Unlucky money loser. Just because he hit you a few times, you dared to have your father arrested. You must be wishing for death. Why eat, starve, you disaster star. Go find your worthless mother quickly. Don't irritate me. Some people are born spineless." Over the past 8 years, despite my heartfelt care, Xiaobai never showed any gratitude, often sarcastically expressing dissatisfaction and continually betraying me. Now, facing the old shrew's hours of continuous cursing each day, she didn't dare utter a word. That scoundrel indeed grinds down another scoundrel. Well, this is exactly as I wished. A month's cooling-off period for divorce quickly passed, accompanied by bodyguards and many journalists. I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to divorce Zhang Guotao. I had contributed to buying our house at marriage, but now I walked away with nothing, converting my share into a lump sum for Xiaobai's alimony, which I gave to Zhang Guotao. My lawyer was somewhat indignant. "Miss Han, you're too kind. You're entitled to half of that house. I could get it for you. No need." I smiled and shook my head. Cornering a dog in an alley provokes a bite. Now that Zhang Guotao is jobless, with only this house left, if he loses half of it, he'll surely commit even more desperate acts. Although Zhang Guotao doesn't know my current address, in today's world of advanced information, it's best to be cautious. If he is determined to find me, one day he might just succeed. There are only temporary thieves, not eternal guards. It's better to suffer a loss and avoid disaster by making a clean break. As for money, now that I am free of burdens, why should I worry about not being able to earn it? The moment I received the divorce certificate, I slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air. Feeling reborn, Zhang Guotao wanted to say something to me, but I refused to even glance at him again and walked away without looking back. As for the ungrateful wretch, either she learned her lesson from being disciplined by Zhang Guotao last time, or she realized I had also been reborn and finally gave up, for she did not show up at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Once outside the bureau, under the tight protection of my bodyguard, I got into the car. Upon entering the car, the bodyguard sighed with some regret. Sister Han, I noticed that Zhang Guotao had an axe tucked into his belt. I was ready to subdue him the moment he drew it. Intentionally injuring someone in public would have certainly landed him a few years in prison, but that coward didn't dare to pull it out with so many people around. I chuckled. He's just a coward, not just Zhang Guotao. All domestic abusers are cowards, daring only to bully their weaker wives and children, too timid to assert themselves outside. The bodyguard nodded in agreement, then changed to a lighter tone. Congratulations, Sister Han, on your new life. Thank you. I replied with a smile, turning my gaze out the window instinctively. At the street corner, a small figure quietly peeked out, watching my car drive away with a complex expression. The ungrateful wretch had come after all. Seeing her frail, thin figure, my heart involuntarily twitched, but it was just for a moment before returning to normal. I can't forget the despair of slowly dying under Zhang Guotao's beatings in my previous life. Even after so long, the pain of the blows remains vivid. I thought I had escaped from this misery, all because of the ungrateful wretch's betrayal. I can never forgive her, otherwise I would betray my past desperate self. I thought that would be the end of it. Unfortunately, I underestimated Zhang Guotao's malice. He forbade the ungrateful wretch from attending school, kept her at home to cook, clean, and serve him, beating her if she did anything unsatisfactorily. The ungrateful wretch, not one to suffer silently, secretly added rat poison to the soup and fed it to Zhang Guotao when he was drunk. Unfortunately, the rat poison was substandard and didn't kill him, only paralyzed him, leaving him bedridden for life. Cleverly, the ungrateful wretch insisted that Zhang Guotao, drunk, had mistaken the rat poison for seasoning and added it himself, clearing herself of any involvement. She was under 10, too young to be prosecuted, and with her convincing account and lack of evidence, the case was dropped. Zhang Guotao's only fate was endless torment. That night, I had a long dream. I dreamed that after being released from prison in my past life, Zhang Guotao lived briefly in harmony with the ungrateful wretch before remarrying a woman who soon got pregnant and had a son. With a son, Zhang Guotao grew colder towards his daughter, forcing her to work after middle school to support her brother. The ungrateful wretch tried to escape multiple times, only to be brutally dragged back each time. Only then did she belatedly appreciate my kindness, but it was too late, and she could only watch helplessly as she was sold to a middle-aged upstart in exchange for a dowry. Every debt has its debtor. In this life, she had her revenge, but none of this is my concern anymore. I have completed the procedures to study in Germany, awaiting a new life. The future lies ahead. The path is under my feet.